Okay, let's dive right into this. We're looking at an unfolding crisis, a war that, from what we're seeing, started with a really simple, almost movie-like plan, but it has just completely spiraled into a case study of strategic failure, and it's raising some pretty tough questions.
And that brings us to the central political question right now, one that's being asked on all sides. Because according to what we're reading, this isn't just about foreign policy anymore. This has become about political survival.
So how in the world did we get here? Well, it seems the entire operation was built on this one very decisive and, as it turns out, totally wrong assumption about how this was all going to go down. And this right here just perfectly sums up the problem. The sources claim the thinking was, a quick, clean victory, a decapitation strike that would make the regime just melt away. But the reality on the ground? It's done the exact opposite. It's actually made the regime dig in and become even more determined.
Okay, so let's pivot to what's actually happening on the ground. Because this is where you really start to see a huge gap between the official reports we're hearing and the facts as they're being reported from the region.
So you hear these reports, right? Thousands of targets have been hit. But the bottom line? This absolutely vital waterway, where something like 20% of the entire world's oil flows through, it's effectively paralyzed. The threat from Iranian mines and drones and missiles, it's still there, creating a massive problem with no easy fix in sight.
And this is where it gets kind of unbelievable. The sources are pointing to what they call a critical planning failure. Think about it. Iran mining the Strait of Hormuz is one of the most predictable moves in the playbook, and yet just a few months before this all kicked off, the very ships needed to clear those mines were reportedly moved out of the region. So now the mines are in the water, and the tools to get them out just aren't there.
And, not being able to control the seas, that had immediate and just staggering consequences for the global economy and for key U.S. allies. Let's just run through the numbers here.
Okay, first up, America's allies in the Gulf. They are getting hammered. We're talking an estimated $600 million, not a month, not a week, but per day, in lost business. It's just evaporated.
And it's not just the ships stuck at sea. Look at the skies. The whole regional economy, which relies so heavily on tourism and air travel, it's been crippled. An estimated 3,000 flights are being disrupted every single day. Decades of building up a brand of stability, poof, gone almost overnight.
But here's the number that really hits home for a lot of people, the energy impact. You've got nearly 7 million barrels of oil a day that just can't get out. And that, according to what we're reading, is causing some real panic about what's going to happen to gas prices right here. So when you have this kind of economic pain and this level of strategic failure, what happens next? Well, you start to see deep political fractures, and not just with the opposition, but even inside the president's own camp. The support is starting to crack.
Now take a look at these numbers because they tell a really fascinating story. The president's base, rock solid, 84% support. But look at the independents, the people who so often swing elections. 60% of them are against this. That is a massive political red flag.
And you're hearing this frustration from some really influential voices, people who were once big supporters. This quote from Joe Rogan just nails it. He says, the whole platform was no more wars, and now we're in one, and we can't even get a straight answer on why.
And listen, it's not just him. The sources point out that a whole group of key commentators, people with huge audiences, are all echoing this same message. They're basically saying this war betrays the whole America First promise. And that creates a really powerful chorus of criticism coming from inside the movement.
So where does all this confusion lead? Well, it leads right back to the top, where the lack of a clear strategy seems to be showing up in some, let's say, chaotic and contradictory messaging.
Check out this direct quote from the president. When asked about how the military operation got its name, the focus wasn't on strategy or goals. It was, I see epic fury, and I said I like that name. That focus on something so superficial, it really stands out when you compare it to the incredibly serious situation on the ground. And this is what that strategic confusion looks like in practice. You get two completely opposite messages within 24 hours. First, it's we're done. We won on day one. And then, the very next day, it's we've got to stay until we finish. That kind of whiplash makes it impossible for anyone to know what the real plan is.
Which leaves us, and basically everyone else, with this list of fundamental, unanswered questions. What's the actual goal here? Is it regime change or not? How are we getting those mines out of the water? What's the exit strategy? And the biggest one of all, why are we there?
Without clear answers, you've got allies confused, the public in the dark, and even supporters scratching their heads.
And that really brings us to the core of the problem and our final thought here. You have this crisis that was born from a faulty plan that just didn't work. And now there's no clear path forward. So the question that hangs over everything is this: when your plan fails, what replaces it?